Welcome back to the shop. Sorry we haven't been doing a pile of videos lately. I've just been busy with a lot of other stuff. But I did do a video. I think I uploaded a video where I might have shown this truck. And maybe not, might not have uploaded that one. But at any rate, the rocker was starting to bubble and blister back here. So essentially what happens with these trucks. Now this truck, let's walk around and have a look at some stuff. If you look at the fender, it's pretty nice. Right behind the mud flap was, completely chewed. And there was no holes, but we had to sandblast that out and clean it up. And then what we did is we built it up with a little bit of fiberglass, fiberfill Bondo. So that's your fiberglass reinforced filler. The one I use has Kevlar in it. Does it matter? I don't know. But at any rate, that's what we've put there. And here we have the rocker panel. Now I can't remember the name of these. You get a pair of them for like 280 bucks delivered if you're in Canada. And they come from Amazon. Now what I can say about them, right here, they just kind of have it squared. They have the angle and everything, but they stick out a little too far. Now, I think the original ones probably have a little bit of a bow to them. These don't have quite as much of that bow. You can see where they'll put a body line in it that just sort of fades away. And the factory does that too. Well, they just run it straight on these where, the factory stamps them. So like I say, there might be a little bit of a bow to it. Now, these aren't the crazy expensive ones that come way up to the sill. They basically stop right at that edge. So as long as your rust is below this flat, you can lay that right on top. And what we did, we ran our hole punch through and we plug welded it, ground the plugs, and gave it a skim coat of filler, which is like, if you use a high build primer, you could get away with that. That's how little filler we used. And we basically have it a touch lower here. So we put a little bit of filler across that edge. And we used the fiberglass reinforced stuff. I didn't make it extra sticky or anything with the extra resin. The nice thing about that is it sticks a little better. But you don't want to put too much in either because it'll harden like glass. So if people are stepping and kicking and you get a little bend in it, you'll get a crack. Where if you stay thin enough, like factory enough, like how do I explain that? You can add a little bit if your filler seems on the dry side, but you don't want to put too much because you want it to be flexible. The more resin you add, the less flexible it gets. So people talk about, well, I've seen a guy where, they did a quarter and they just split it right here and then they put the fiberglass filler on and then later there was a crack. Well, two things, especially if it was in a muscle car quarter panel, pretty good chance the framing and everything under that car has a lot of movement in it that maybe it shouldn't have, for one. But if you put a lot of that in because you're trying to seal the welds good, you put a lot of extra resin in the filler, it does thin it out and it's sticky and it does go in better. But if you put too much, it will harden like glass. And you got to understand cars move and twist. So keep in mind, because I do it all the time, I usually always add a few drops in, especially if it seems a little thick and dry. But sometimes what you do when you do that is you'll squish it into the weld, but I won't fill it out with that. That'll kind of seal up the welds or any pinholes, so there's barely any in there, and then I'll use a filler. I know people say, the fillers are bad and the whole Bondo thing, Bondo's bad, it's got a bad name, but the reality is you also need things to flex. So in the case of this rocker panel, the only place where this could possibly split is up here. I honestly doubt that's going to happen because we have our lip down. There's an edge. It's been plug welded a lot. And I also came up and caught the edge above the plug welds. I put a few minor tacks in there. But I ran the tacks like little worms. So like it's on there. It ain't going nowhere. Now on the bottom, we did our rosette welds. And I'm leaving them just like that because the factory leaves the ones they put in. Now the only difference is the factory ones are pinched where we just filled them. So our dot pops out where theirs would kind of pop in. At any rate, It very much looks stock. Now we did have to go through, and you'll see where there's holes down at the back corner, in the middle, and at the front. So those double holes are for all this bracketry that bolts under the bottom, so that you can have a step here. But what happened with this truck, now even though the box is dirty, we're going to take this outside, clean it off, and then bring it in and plastic it up and put it in the booth. And then we're going to paint everything that's primed. We're going to paint it with white base coat. We're going to come up so high, we'll cut our clear line up in here. We're not going to touch that door. But on this door, we're going to have to cut our clear line up underneath that lip and right straight across the fender. There will be a little bit of a fade line up there, and I'm not going to worry about it. But I mean, that'll be pretty good, right? At the end of the day, this is a 10, 12-year-old work truck. So looking this good is fine. There's no bubbling, there's no rust. Now this guy oils this truck and gets it undercoated every year, and they do a good job. Like I say, there's almost no rust anywhere. And I mean, the doors here, there was a bit of peeling. There's no rust underneath on the inside. We pulled all the rubbers and cleaned it off. But what happens sometimes with these trucks, you've got an inner and an outer rocker panel, but you've also got like a brace welded through the middle. And sometimes, and in the cases of these four-door Dodges, if you're only oiling through the big holes on the back side of the inner rocker, it doesn't come out into this front rocker. At least not on this truck. So what happened is the backside rockers are full of oil and they're like brand new, but the outer rocker was starting to blister in the corner and all the way up. But when we cut it and we removed it, the rust on the inside seemed to come up to right here and stop. And from here up was totally fine. So we thought, let's just do the patch we need. But the more I kept going, I realized the backside was rusting away. And it's been rusting. So we bought the rockers anyway, so why cut them up? We went ahead, did a full rocker patch on the truck. We know that's going to last a long time. Now once this is done, we're going to put a few holes. We're going to go down here, because if we come up here, the oil can't quite get in right, but we're going to come down here. We're going to put a 1/4-inch hole here and up here, and in the same 2 spots at the back door. And all that does is allows us into that skin, and then we'll put our rubber plugs in. Now Dodge does have these little teeny tiny ones right here. And they got a whole buttload of them underneath, but these have never been taken out. You can see that there's a bit of rust on them. But yeah, they're kind of a bear to take out and put back in, because, you know, they're kind of fine and they're kind of a hard plastic. So guys, I guess, figure it's coming in through the back. But I mean, if you're out there undercoating these trucks, make sure you find a better place to get it inside the rocker. So that's why we're going to drill a few holes and fill it with oil before the truck gets picked up after paint. Now we are going to have to come in here. We're going to pull our tape line off, and we're going to go ahead with a Scotch-Brite, because we want to come up off the primer into the white. That way our blend line is going to be not down on the flat, but up behind where the tape is here on the horizontal. And I mean, you're not going to notice that inside there. We could use a foam tape if we were really picky, like a J tape, and that absorbs it, and it basically fades the line away. But yeah, we're not too worried. So basically, we're going to have to shoot in here, shut the doors, and then finish off the rocker outside, and then come up the doors a little bit with a little bit of a blend, and then do our clear coat. So that's where we're at. After it's painted later today or tomorrow morning, we'll do another video showing what it looks like in white. Thanks for watching. Now,